Namaste, Adab, Sasrikal. You are watching news at 4 on EDM First. This is Aditi Singh Roy, your host, bringing you the latest news from around the world. We begin today's bulletin with headlines of the hour.
In today's local story, India ready to launch its first underwater metro tunnel in 2023 under the Hooghly River. Orphans from Ukraine celebrate Bar Mitzvah at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. US stocks stumble as bond yields climb.
From the city of Kolkata, we bring you some groundbreaking news. India's first underwater metro tunnel is under construction and will be fully functional by 2023. The underwater tunnel will be under the riverbed of Hooghly River. Here is an in-depth report.
Kolkata will be the first city to get its underwater metro that runs beneath the Hooghly River. It is said to be 16.3 kilometers long and 520 meters beneath the riverbed. Let's take a closer look.
That Kolkata Metro is the first planned and operational rapid transit system in India. It was initially planned in the 1920s, but the construction only started in the 1970s. Since then, it has become the fifth longest operational metro network in India after the Delhi Metro, Hyderabad Metro, Namma Metro and Chennai Metro. The underwater metro is a part of that project. This will establish metro connectivity between Havra and Kolkata, and the station is being built under the Hooghly River. Total cost of the East-West Metro project has been estimated to be around Rs 9,000 crores, while the underwater tunnel is being built at a cost of Rs 60 crores. Also, the biggest and the most major challenge in Kolkata while such an ambitious project has been undertaken is that the city has and continues to house many heritage buildings, for which special care had to be taken to ensure that no harm shall be caused to them. Primarily, safety and evacuation was the most important challenge that had to be undertaken by the engineers and also later for the passengers. So, as per Mithun Ghosh, who is the site supervisor, important passage work has been done, keeping in mind that if a technical problem arises inside the water tunnel area, passengers can be taken out through the special passage. There shall also be walkways in the tunnels for the evacuation of passengers in case of emergency.
With this, people have another option to commute throughout Kolkata. Let's look forward to this in 2023.
That was our local news reporter Merin with cameraman Piyush and Puneet on sound on the first underwater metro under construction. With that, we move on to talk about lack of facilities in college campuses in another local story. Office and college campuses are mini localities by themselves. It is imperative that they have necessary amenities. Stationery, groceries, ATM, all a part of that. We are currently joined by student body representative of Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, where the lack of ATMs is being felt. Siddhant, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Aditi.
Yes.
Today we have with us Srfti, who is the students' body spokesperson from Srfti. Hello, Srfti. Can you tell us the need of an ATM in the Srfti campus right now?
Yes, so it has been identified that ATMs could be of use on campus, not just for students, but also for in-house faculty, residents, also laborers who prefer to handle only cash. So there is a dire need for ATMs on campus.
Can you tell us about the cash mode of payment happening in the time of production where the students are facing? Can you enlighten us more about this?
Right, so this is a film school, so we make films and there's a lot of productions that happen. And while online payments are accepted by most vendors, some vendors, especially those of a lower strata, tend to prefer to handle only cash and tend to ask only for cash, especially last moment purchases, emergencies and things like that. So it is always ideal that there is cash available. Otherwise, we need to go across, go to the ATM and sometimes there's no cash, or you get only 500 rupees, and we sometimes handle petty cash and it becomes difficult to get change. So yeah, it is a situation where it would be great if we have an ATM on campus.
What is the admin's take on this issue, and are they willing to support the students by approving an ATM in the campus?
Right. So before the pandemic, we had brought up this issue, and not just as an ATM, but also to have a mini banking system where we could deposit cash, which could then help the students. But since the pandemic, priorities have changed. So we will try our best and keep pushing this in the upcoming ACs and things like that. But as of now, there has been no support shown by the admin.
Thank you, Shruti. That was really helpful insight for us. As you can see, that students are facing lack of facility, which is the cash, and they have to go far away to get cash from the ATM. This is me, Siddhant, signing off with cameraman Vishnu for EDM First. Thank you. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you, Siddhant, for that information. It is necessary that students and their needs are met, and ATMs on campus is one step in that direction. With that, it's time for a short break. On the other side, we bring you more latest news and an international interesting panel discussion on animal testing and its effects.
When you pay your credit card bills on Cred, you earn Cred coins. Use them to claim cashback and rewards. Now that's as delightful as Kumar Sanu selling insurance.
प्यार हो या कार हो इंश्योरेंस है जरूरी फिर चाहे कर ले गोरी तेरा दिल और गाड़ी चोरी कहना मैं इंश्योर्ड हूँ सनम आई एम सॉरी हे 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 ला 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 ला
Welcome back. You are watching EDM First, where we bring you the latest news. From Kolkata, we move on to news from around the globe. Our first story comes from Wall Street, where a sudden hike in bond yields resulted in US stocks crashing. Here is everything you need to know.
Tech shares dragged Wall Street sharply lower on Monday as rising bond yields weighed on market-leading growth stocks ahead of crucial inflation data expected on Tuesday. All three major US stock indexes ended deep in negative territory, with tech and tech-adjacent stocks pulling the Nasdaq down to 2.2%. There's been two kinds of sell-offs in the past month or two, said Peter Tuss, president of Chase Investment Council in Charlottesville, Virginia. There's the rising yields, which primarily affects tech and other growth stocks, and then there's the recession/economic slowdown sell-off that affect energy and various materials names. Today you're seeing both, he said. The benchmark 10-year US Treasury yielded hovered near a 3-year high ahead of key inflation data expected on Tuesday. Twitter Inc. advanced 1.7% after its biggest shareholder Tesla Inc. chairman Elon Musk rejected the social media company's offer to join its board of directors. As for Tesla, data showed sales of its electric vehicles which plunged in China last month due to the country's efforts to curb COVID-19 outbreak, sending its shares down 4.8%. Media and streaming firm Warner Bros. Discovery Inc., formed from the $43 billion merger of Discovery Inc. and assets of AT&T Inc., whipsawed in its first day of trading, ending up 1.4% higher, while shares of AT&T climbed 7.74% while remaining in the red throughout. This comes ahead of the US Federal Reserve that has vowed to aggressively tackle scorching inflation, and market participants largely expect a series of 50 basis points interest rate hikes from the central bank in the coming months.
From Wall Street, we now move to Jerusalem, where children from the war-torn city of Ukraine take a moment to rejuvenate. A few rescued orphans were seen celebrating and singing and dancing at the Western Wall in Jerusalem at their bar mitzvah. Amidst all the chaos in Ukraine, here is some refreshing news.
Four orphans from the Ukrainian city of Zhytomyr celebrated their bar mitzvah, a Jewish coming-of-age ceremony, at the Western Wall in Jerusalem on Monday. The Ukrainian orphans are part of a larger group who arrived in Israel on March 3rd from war-torn Ukraine after a journey through Romania. Accompanied by members of the Jewish organization Chabad, the 13-year-old boys were welcomed into the Western Wall Plaza with live music, singing and dance.
There are a lot of Jewish people, Jewish community. They are so helpful. I'm excited.
We make this event once a year for orphans, and we are with the orphans consistently 365 days a year, guiding them, helping them to go through the traumatic experience that they've gone through, said Chabad director Rabbi Shlomo Dachman. The Jewish National Fund has taken care of their hosting and well-being in Israel, the organization said. This comes just a few weeks after hundreds of refugee children ranging from 2 months to 17 years of age were rescued from Ukraine and brought to Jerusalem. Many of these children have dreamt of Jerusalem and have always wanted to visit the place. In Ukraine, recovery efforts continue in the suburbs, cities and towns outside the capital city of Kyiv.
We're currently joined by Nastya Shpot, a 15-year-old Jewish refugee from Ukraine who was taken in by the Shabbat organization. Thank you for joining us, Nastya. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
So it's been 6 weeks now. What can you tell us about the first few weeks and how you got here?
We were initially really worried. We were very close to where the attacks happened. Over 200 refugees, we were in different places and we didn't know what to do. We found these people who gave us food and a home, a place to stay actually.
And what can you tell us about your family and friends? Did they stay back in your hometown?
Actually, my grandparents stay in my town in Ukraine where there is shooting. My dad is in queue in the front line. He served in the Ukrainian army and I'm here with my mom and my two sisters. My friends, they every day call me and I'm with one family one day and then the other. I tell them. Then they say, can I call you later because there is always shooting going on.
At just the age of 15, you've also taken the responsibility to help other people and not just take shelter yourself. Why did you do so?
I found a great woman, a volunteer. Her name is Basa and she helped many people. I met her and I also realized that I want to help other people here.
Thank you, Natsya, for taking some time and giving us details on everything you've gone through and for all the efforts you're doing. We send our love and prayers and hope better days lie ahead. In other news, Delhi recorded its highest temperature in 72 years within the first half of April of this year. The heat is beginning to get unbearable and warnings of heat waves have been issued. It's time to check on the weather. Prathamesh, over to you.
Thank you, Aditi. Like you said, the weather is expected to be warm and sunny through the country. As you can see, the Mumbai will be hot and humid, weather with temperature reaching up to 35 degrees Celsius. New Delhi is experiencing lows and a high temperature of 40 degrees, with a minimum of 25 degrees. Chennai will be partly cloudy with a maximum of 33 degrees, and Bengaluru will experience a temperature of 32 degrees. And it is expecting showers. Kolkata will be sunny with a temperature reaching to 34 degrees and a minimum of 28 degrees. Kandla in Gujarat and Balmer in Rajasthan are said to have the highest temperature in India, reaching to 45 degrees. It is best to consume as much as fluids possible and beat the heat. That's all from me. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you, Prathamesh. The West Bengal Health Board issued a notice stating steps of prevention to avoid heat-related illness, wear light clothes, stay hydrated and plan outdoor activities, to name a few. You can check out the notice on our social media handles @EDM First. Don't go anywhere. On the other side, we have an intriguing panel discussion on the testing on animals and its effects. Stay tuned. We will be back after the short break.
Dogs bring out the good in us. Pedigree brings out the good in them. Feed the good.
Welcome back. You are watching our evening news bulletin on EDM First. Testing of animals has always been under scrutiny. Our much-awaited panel discussion on animal testing and its effects hopes to provide some insights. It was recently observed that tests on animals would not help the EU's chemical strategy for sustainability achieve its aim of a toxic-free environment. We are joined by Shubhadeep, CEO of Sugar and Spice Cosmetics, and Pramitha, an animal rights activist, to shed some light on this. Thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you. Okay. So let's get right to it. Animals are still being used in the chemical sphere right now. So what is your take on that? Like, they're being used for testing, right? So what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary for the progress of medical industry. And I know there are people who are completely against it, but I would have a nice discussion with them why it's absolutely necessary. We are not savages. We care about them as well.
And Pramitha, what do you think about this?
It's really unfortunate and sad that even in 2022, we are still resorting to such archaic and unkind practices, and something must be done to, overcome this.
And one can argue saying that if not animals, then humans will have to be used. Do you think that's a fair argument? Do you think it's just an excuse?
Humans are actually used as subjects for tests, but it's not like we pick up every animal we see and throw them at tests. Like if we see there is an alternative, we won't go for animal tasting, because it's not like we don't let them eat, or we are not savages, like I told you. So what we do is we have experts for them who who take care of these animals, and also there are a lot of process that has to be overseen by the ethics committee. So it's not exactly very brutal. We are not brutal towards them, but humans are not always the option like the animals is.
And what do you think about it, Pramika? Do you think humans should be, obviously not used, but
I think
should that be an excuse?
better alternatives need to be found, and given the age and civilization we are in, more needs to be done. I think not enough is done to actually find better alternatives for this, and that is because we have a ready alternative at hand. That we can test animals, right? And if we absolutely decide not to do that, then research more about this, or find out more about how we can avoid it. Certainly, we can come up with some better solutions.
About alternatives, do you think AI can be used to aid in this process?
AI is actually used to aid in this process. Like like she said, we are actually researching every day. We have researchers researching if we are going to have better alternatives where we do not have to rely on animals. But the thing is, there is a limit to how much an AI can do. So there are complex reactions between cells and tissues that an AI cannot research, right? For that we need animals, and for that we have to go for animals. If we have an alternative, we won't go for animals. But if the alternative doesn't work, we have to go for animal testing.
But okay, what about diverting to a more humanitarian ground, more compassionate ground? Do you think people are compassionate? Where do you think is it missing in matters like these?
So in 2016, there has been some study in AI, and some people had developed an algorithm which used substance toxicity. They studied that in the previously conducted animal testing researches, and based on that data, they had actually found that using animal testing is also not completely accurate, because different animals, they show different reactions. So it also depends on their health and various other factors pertaining to animals. And since inaccuracies can also be found in animal testing, then there is an even more a pressing need to find another alternative for this. And yeah, it's definitely not compassionate to them, and I think as a humanity, we are just failing as a civilization if we've not been able to find something else by now.
So that's exactly what I was trying to say. Like, do you think we're missing that compassionate bit, Shubhadeep? Like, she says that we are. Do you think that we're missing it?
Not entirely. Like I have been telling you since the beginning, we are not savages. We care about them. It's not just the animals that we run for the tests. There are human trials as well. But, to add to it, there are things we look forward to. So, like I told you, AI can only help this much. We have to go for animal tests. So, what we do is, what we can do, obviously we can search for more alternatives than we already have. But I don't think animal testing is going to be completely eradicated from the practice. It's absolutely necessary. It's necessary for the advancement of medicine as well.
I think it's unfair to compare human trials to animal testing, because there's consent involved when you talk about human trials. Obviously, yeah, that's another discussion that we can have.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you see any injustice happening to animals around you, call PETA on 98201 22602. Thank you for watching. Join us again tomorrow on News at 4, only on EDM First, where we bring you the latest news from around the globe. This is Adi Singh Roy signing off. Have a good evening, and remember to stay hydrated.